Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Strong Inside and Out, the place where you always get that nugget of information, making you a strong woman on the inside and out. And I am excited to share that this is actually episode number 200. Now, I've had a couple of bonus episodes in there that I didn't really count, but officially we're on episode 200. Can you believe that? I completely cannot believe this. I started this just because I felt like I had a message to share. And I have never been one that I'm out there monetizing this podcast. I'm out there. I'm not really good about getting new people following. I have some loyal followers and listeners. And, for me, I think that that has always been good. And realizing that we're on episode 200, I think it's time. I think it's time to take this all to the next level. Everything that I do to the next level. 2025 feels like it is my year for sure. And we're in the month of May. It's my birthday month, and I like to celebrate all month. I don't know. I just think that we're on to something here. So happy 200th episode. And if you've been a listener since the beginning, thank you for coming back every week or during the episodes that you do. And let's start growing this. Let's start making this different and bigger and better. So today this is like the perfect topic to talk about because I'm talking about overhauls, right? Not overalls like your bib jeans, right? Although they're making a comeback, I hear. But I'm talking about an overhaul in your life, an overhaul in your career, an overhaul in what we do each and every day. And there are many times in life where we hit these milestones that require us to make an overhaul. There are many times in life that we have to make an overhaul not by choice. And then there are just these times in life where we go, you know what? I think it's time for some change. And we bring on that change and embrace it. Although it's still very scary, we still continue to move forward. So let's talk about all of this week on the episode, and hopefully we can all get to a place where we are truly building that life that we love. Now, before we get started, I do want to share that Sherry Dixon Consulting is making some big changes. So if you've been someone who's been following me or part of my business or my communities, I have over the last couple of months started shifting to where I'm still supporting women leaders. I'm still supporting women being their biggest and best selves, but I'm moving my business a little bit more towards education. So if you are an educator out there listening and you want to learn more, as you're going to hear in today's show, my website just got revised and you can head on over to sherrydixon.com, or no, sherrydixonconsulting.com, and check it out. I would love to hear your feedback because I believe that this is going to grow very quickly, especially with some of the other projects that I'm working on. And I want to be sure I'm professional, that it's inviting, that it makes sense, and it's easily accessible. So I would love your feedback. Please be kind. If there's something there, don't just say it sucks. Give me something that I can really work with if there is some things to change, because I know that there probably are. But this will be a work in progress for a little bit of time, but I'm really excited about the new look. So having said that, let's get started. So when I was a kid, I often would go into my bedroom, shut the door, mainly because of all of the chaos that was going on around me in the world. I would look around my room, and I think one of my control factors was if I could control the mess in my room, so to speak, I could have some kind of control over life. We went through a period of time. We grew up in this really big old house, and my parents were hippies. They became parents as teenagers. They were doing the best that they can. I truly do believe that. Both of them had some substance abuse issues. Both of them had, some self-esteem, confidence kind of issues. Um, I think they started to mature as I was starting to grow up and decide the trajectory of their lives, which ended up resulting in divorce. It was messy. There was a time I remember my dad coming home one night late and decided we needed a new kitchen. So we tore the entire kitchen out, but we didn't have the means to rebuild a kitchen. So we went for so long without a kitchen. And my mom, bless her heart, she felt like the best thing to do would be to live camp style and cook food on the fireplace. Here's the problem. The fireplace was an electric fireplace and it didn't give off heat. Yeah. So she quickly learned that that wasn't going to work. And so we ended up with some electric skillets, crock pots, things like that to actually be able to cook food. But it was rough. We didn't have a kitchen sink. So there are times I saw my mom doing dishes in the bathtub, and we only had one bathroom. So she'd clean the bathtub up afterward, and then we'd all have to go take baths. We didn't have a shower. It was messy. So those four walls that I had in my bedroom, and I had my own bedroom, luckily, I could control what was happening in those four walls. And I would remember going in and saying, okay, it's time for an overhaul. So I'd rearrange the furniture or I'd clean everything, like just clean, wipe the walls, clean the windows, clean the floors. Because it was an old house, we didn't have carpet, it was wood flooring. Or I would get in that closet because I would hide in my closet a lot in the night. And I wanted it to be like a little escape room for myself. So I would revamp my closet. And even as I became a mother and moved to Houston, made that transition, my ex-husband and I, we weren't making a lot of money at first. We were living mainly on a teacher salary. We would move like every 6 months to a year right at first because I felt like it would be a great time for me to clean, get rid of things, and start fresh. And here's the funny thing. Since I've been divorced, I sold a house. I moved to Iowa. I leased a house for 1 year. And during that transition, I got rid of everything. I wanted to just purge everything, get rid of my old life, and start a new life. Got to this house in Des Moines, Iowa, bought all new furniture, all new pots and pans, all new dishes, all new bath linens, all new bedding, all new decor, curtains, everything new. The only thing I took with me were my clothes and shoes. I took with me my computer, of course, of my car, of course, and I had just bought a new mattress. So I brought that mattress with me. Everything else, I bought brand new. And then a year later, I had an opportunity to do a house flip. And I remember thinking, oh, this is a great opportunity to get rid of everything from the past year and start fresh once again. And so I did. Was it the most economical thing? No, but it was an overhaul that I put on myself. And then a year later, I came back to Houston. And I brought things with me back from Des Moines that time. So I didn't really do necessarily an overhaul, but only because everything it fit into the new place I was leasing. I wasn't ready to buy or build at that point. I actually stayed in that place for 8 years, 7 years, and it worked. But then I built a new house. And once again, I purged everything because it was an opportunity for me to do an overhaul. Now, you kind of get my pattern, right? My pattern is something works for me for a while and then it stops working. When I think back to my role as a principal, I served at one campus for 6 years, one campus for 2 years, and then the last campus for 8 years. I would do these overhauls, mini overhauls in my office about every 2 years because I needed something fresh. What was working for me for those 2 years, all of a sudden wasn't working for me anymore. Maybe the decor, maybe my organizational systems, maybe my systems within the building. Because I do truly believe that sometimes things work for the season, but they might not work forever. Now, did I overhaul the things that were working? I'm a smart girl, so no, I didn't do that. But it was an opportunity to go in and do something fresh. Now, let's blame it on my ADHD brain, I guess. Let's blame it on the fact that I embraced change. Couldn't have done the work that I've done all these years without embracing change. I couldn't have bounced back from all of the setbacks I've had without embracing change. I believe that change helps us learn and grow. But I also know that sometimes these kind of overhauls happen to us and we don't really necessarily want them to happen. I left my principal position at the end of the school year 22-23 and had an entire year and almost a half of not working within schools. I did some subbing, I did some consulting, but I did not necessarily go to a school building each and every day. I needed to do that for a while to get myself back. And then I did an overhaul and I went back. I went back in November, and by January, I realized my business was not aligned with me. And that was January of this year. And I was feeling lost and I was feeling stuck and I was feeling like my life around me was out of control. You've heard me talk about 2024 being such a hard year for me, just personally and professionally. And I needed to have some kind of control. So I've been working on this revising, let's use that word, of my business. My business is going from just working with female leaders more into the world of educational consulting and coaching. I do truly believe in the education system. It's where my heart lies. You've heard me talk about this before, and that's why I made the move. So these past couple of weeks, I've been looking at all of my systems. Are they working with the new choices that I'm making? And I have to be honest, there was one system that I was avoiding, and I was really avoiding this system because it's a big one. I remember spending days, actually, I think weeks, on building my original website. I've made a few adjustments over the last 3 years that my business has been in existence, but they've just been minor adjustments. Once I was able to get a template in place and I was able to get things kind of the way I wanted them, which took time, I didn't want to mess with it. I just thought there's no way I can go through that again. I even in March reached out to 2 people to talk to them about revising my website now. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's a cost that I just didn't want to take on right now. Sure, it would free my time, my anxiety, my stress and overwhelm, but I just didn't feel like it was the smartest choice right now. So I took a deep breath this week and I said, okay, let's start looking at what could be salvaged and what needs to be changed. And I started reaching out to people to give me an audit of my website. Just kind of like you would think about an audit of your life, right? What's working, what's not working, what makes sense for the new direction in which you want to go, what doesn't make sense. I truly believe in the saying, when you keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, it's the definition of insanity. I can say that because I've been there, right? If I want to lose weight, but I don't decrease my calories or increase my workouts and put myself back into a good place health-wise, it's not going to happen. And I could keep thinking it's going to happen. I can keep believing and manifesting it will happen. I can keep visualizing what I will look like, but let's be honest, it's not going to happen. When I knew I wanted to become a school administrator, just going to meetings and just mentoring, having mentors in my life and just networking with the right people wasn't going to make it happen. I had to go back to school. I was avoiding that because that's work. Master's level and beyond, that's big work. But it was something that had to be done. But I also know this about myself. When something starts to get on my mind doesn't shut off. It keeps thinking about it. It keeps stuck on it, so to speak. And then I get all of these scenarios playing in my mind. And it's usually when I'm trying to sleep. Anybody like that out there? I mean, my gosh, I cannot even tell you over the past 3 months how many dreams I've had about this silly website. And I dream that I shut it all down and start over and it like disappears. It totally flops. I dream that I shut it down and I start over and the very first day it releases, I have 1 million people on my website. Like I've had every end of the spectrum, so to speak, when I'm having these dreams. I have dreams that I'm drinking wine and just at my computer with a smile on my face, fixing my website. And then I have these dreams where I'm like holding my head and I'm overwhelmed and stressed. And honestly, I'm cussing a little bit and just grumpy because it's just not working. So this week, I finally said I have to make a decision. And I went in and I started this audit and I've got some feedback from people. I put it through my chat bot. I got some feedback there. And with all of that feedback and my own thoughts on the website, Wednesday, I did something kind of crazy. I deleted it. Now, I'm also a smart girl, as I mentioned before. I have a backup, right? So the blogs that I wrote, I was looking at those and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get back to blogging because those were good. I have some other pieces on there that I thought, okay, this is good. I don't want to just totally lose all of this. But I felt it was best if I did a complete overhaul. Yeah, it was the scariest push of a button I've done in a while. And it was gone. It was gone in a minute. And I stopped to think this morning as I was working on the website because it's about 75% rebuilt and looks amazing. I started to think if I would have just revised the website, would it have become this amazing? I don't think it would have. Because what I would have done, knowing me, is I would have tweaked a few things like I've been doing for the past few years. And I would have expected a different result, but I really would not have made the change needed to get that different result. And then I started to think about it was a force that pushed me to get out of my comfort zone. It was a force that made me grow. Because Thursday night, I'm on the phone with my sister, telling her about this site, and I said, I don't know. I just don't know. It's just not working the way I want it to work, and this isn't connecting to this, and this isn't showing up here. And she says, okay, this is what you tell me when I'm in this state. You tell me to breathe. So I want you to stop and I want you to breathe. And Friday was a day called Rest and Relax Day for my school district, which is amazing. I love that concept. So I was home Friday and I said, okay, today is my day. I'm figuring it out. And I went in with an open mind, and I went in realizing there were a lot of things I didn't know. And I was going to have to step back, slow down in order to speed up. And I did it. Everything is clicking, everything is flowing. I've previewed it as what it looks like on a mobile device, because that's where most people are going to look, right? It's beautiful, it aligns, the aesthetics, they are right there. They are just amazing. It looks so good. Again, I have 75% of it done. I've got work to do. None of my blogs are up. None of my resources are up, including links to my books, to my workshops, things like that. But the main pages are there and they're ready to go. And I felt so good last night. I felt like when I shut down at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, I deserved the glass of wine I poured. I deserved to rest and relax like the day was meant to be with my dog next to me. And I deserved to be able to say, look at what you did. There were, okay, not tears, so to speak, but when I say blood, sweat, and tears, you get the gist of it. It wasn't easy. There was some frustration. And I persevered. And I took the small steps so that I could get the big result in the end. We have times in life that we have to do an overhaul. How do we know? I think when we don't feel aligned, when we feel like things are just being too automatic and we start to get bored, or maybe not the word bored, but maybe not excited about our life. Sometimes we're forced into this overhaul, divorce, a death, a job change that we weren't anticipating, a move. Sometimes we choose the overhaul, like rearranging your furniture, cleaning your closet. Whatever it is, fighting against it is just going to perpetuate the stress, the anxiety, and the overwhelm. Last night, I slept so good. That doesn't happen for me often. I'm not a great sleeper, but I didn't have dreams about that website. Oh my gosh. I didn't have a dream about that website. Can you believe it? I felt at peace when I put my head down on the pillow. And when I woke back up this morning and worked a little more on it, I felt much more confidence going into it. And I actually felt much more productive and noticed that I was more productive. I gave myself an hour to work this morning before my workout, and I got stuff done. It was truly what we could call a power hour. Now, making big changes like this, they're not easy. Sometimes they're not even necessary. And you have to be the one to determine that. I saw a post in a social media group this morning that said it was a principal who had been in their position for a year, and now they were being relocated to another campus and they weren't sure that that's the track they wanted to go on. And this principal, who posted anonymously, said, "What do y'all think?" And somebody was so brave and said, "You can't ask us that. We're not you. You have to do what's best for you, not what other people think." And I think we get so caught up with what are other people going to think about this, that it does cause us to freeze and perpetuate on the what ifs, the anxiousness, the anxiety, the overwhelm of it all. But if you feel like you're in a place that it's time to overhaul some kind of aspect in your life, I do want to say this. If you allow yourself to just change a small thing, but expect big results, I want you to be real with yourself, because sometimes that happens, right? Sometimes it's just a little tweak that's just not right. During this process, I had one page that I couldn't get to be visible. And I was on the little chat assistants for the platform that I use. And I said, I know it's just one button. I know it's just one thing. And I truly knew that. And it was. And I could fix that easy. And it made a huge difference. So sometimes the overhaul is not necessary. But sometimes when it is necessary and we think that a small step is just going to make this big thing happen, I think we have to get real with ourselves. We have to tell ourselves that it's time to be brave. It's time to take a risk. I always keep a backup plan. I knew if my business didn't work, I had the backup plan that I could go back into the world of education. I know that if I'm out training and running and something's not working, because I do get injured much more often now at my age, I have a backup plan of another type of workout I can do that does not affect my injuries. I know that if I have to be away from my dog for a significant amount of time and can't get home to him, I have a backup plan that can step in and be there for me. I know these things because I planned for them. Just like having the backup, the archive of my old site, just in case. Backup plans are not a bad idea. But being too afraid to take the big step, it will keep you stuck. So my challenge for you this week, y'all, where are you in your life? Are you on a path right now that you feel like you are living your dream? Or you're building your dream and you feel like things are going right? Or are you somebody who's up in the night or dreaming about something that's keeping you stuck, that's getting in your way, and you know change is coming, change is needed, but it's too scary to take the first step? Definitely take an audit of where you are this week. And maybe it's time to be brave. Maybe it's time to make that overhaul in your life. Because when it works, it feels amazing. All right, that's everything I have for you this week. I hope you have an amazing week. It's May. The weather is amazing here in Houston today as I'm recording. We had storms yesterday. It was gross. I went out running yesterday morning and it was just humid and yuck and raining off and on. Luckily, I was able to run in between the rain, but today is like the polar opposite. It's sunshiny. There's a nice breeze from the north. It's not humid at all. As a matter of fact, when I came in from my run, I thought, oh, I need some water because my throat's so dry because it's so dry outside. So get out there, enjoy life. Hopefully your weather is getting better where you are. But most importantly, don't give up on you and your dreams, because we all deserve to have a life we love. I'll see you next week right back here on Strong Inside and Out.